Hello everyone. In this video, I want to have a discussion about the Luban new feature, Whistle. I did many tests in the past 2 days, and I have some interesting findings. In the first day, I printed many types of whistle without actually considering the different effects of the parameters. And this is the first one. And there are many like the first one that I printed. I was hoping it would work like a charm, but as one of our members said, it looks like a whistle, but it doesn't work like a whistle. So listen to the sound. It doesn't make any sound at all. I have no idea what happened to this whistle, and I try to use different parameters, including moving this opening slot a bit forward. And that leads to the second one. Comparing these two, the only difference is the position of the opening. In the previous version of Luban, you cannot change the position of the opening. You can change the size of the opening. So in the current version that I just uploaded 1 hour ago, the opening is moved a bit forward because my test shows that moving it forward helps to produce better sound. Let's try the second. So that sounds like a whistle, isn't it? After the two were printed, I have no white filament, so I changed to a gray filament, and I repeated the tests. I repeated using the same settings for these two. The first one is the opening a bit backward, and let's try whether it works. Still doesn't make any sound. The second one, the opening moved a little bit downward, closer to the mouthpiece. And I think the difference is, if you look into that opening, you directly point to the chamber, air chamber. Whereas on the second one, the opening is on the duct, on the channel. The air chamber is a bit behind. The other parameters are the same. So this sounds better. In fact, these two sounds almost exactly the same. And my first set of meaningful experiment tells me move the opening a bit forward. Then in the next experiment, I'm thinking about what I can change to change the quality of the sound. And here is my changes. I want to test if the wall thickness matters. So on the right, we have a thickness of 2 millimeter. On the left, we have a thickness of 1.5 millimeter. Other parameters are the same. I want to see what is the difference that it can make. When I change the wall thickness to 1.5, in this video, it doesn't make any sound, but sometimes I can actually get a good sound. It sounds similar. So my takeaway with the comparison of these two is a 2 millimeter thickness produces more stable sound, whereas a 1.5 millimeter seems to be producing unstable sound. But this takeaway is not conclusive, because in the following experiment, I also used 1.5 millimeter. And it only seems to me that when the chamber is relatively big, the wall thickness should be relatively big as well. And yesterday when I tested this one, it can produce some sound. Then moving on to the next, I was thinking about, okay, how about reducing the air chamber? So what is in my mind is when the chamber is big, the pitch of the sound should be a low pitch. When the air chamber is smaller, then the pitch of the sound should be bigger. So I reduced the chamber height, and the thickness is still 1.5, that one. It couldn't produce stable sound. Sometimes it gives a sound, sometimes it doesn't. This one, the air chamber is smaller. The thickness is 1.5. Let's see how it works. It does not produce any sound. And let's take a look at the opening. At this point, I'm thinking, why does it produce a good sound on the big chamber, on the previous experiment? And when I reduce the thickness to 1.5 millimeter, both of the tests doesn't give me any sound. Is there any problem with the thickness, or is there any problem with some other parameters? After thinking it through for a little while and actually going to Google to check the acoustics, I realized that the duct, the duct has a gap. This gap actually matters when you blow air into the chamber. The sound is produced by a resonant effect between the incoming air and the outgoing air through the opening. So the size of the gap matters, is a critical parameter to play with. Previously, like this one and that one, these two examples produce sound, and the gap has been consistently setting to 2 millimeter. And when I reduce the chamber size, I believe the gap size should also be reduced in order to cater for the high pitch output. But I'm not certain whether it will work. This is just my very intuitive guess. I don't have a strong acoustics knowledge, but my guess is I should reduce the duct gap. In the previous version of whistle, there is only one parameter. It's called duct height, the distance from the top surface to the bottom surface. So duct height minus 2 thickness gives you the duct gap. In the new version, I modified the parameter. I exposed duct gap directly. The duct height parameter is replaced with duct gap because the gap is a more important, more critical parameter to produce good sound. So here it goes with the next experiment. These two whistles are exactly the same, except not exactly the same. These two whistles are the same, produced by the same parameter, except that duct gap becomes from, I think this is from 2 to 1.5 millimeter. I didn't go to 1 millimeter because 1 millimeter seems to be too small to me. 1.5. Let's see how it goes. Beautiful, isn't it? It can produce very stable sound. You blow into the duct, you will get a sound. It's consistent, and it's not like one of these whistles. Sometimes it produces sound, sometimes it doesn't. Once I reduce the gap, it can produce consistent sound. So next experiment, I want to see if I further reduce the chamber size, will it produce an even higher pitch sound? So the comparison of these two whistles is that All the parameters are the same. Duct gap is also 1.5 millimeter. The only difference is the chamber is smaller. Let's see how it goes. Beautiful. So this one indeed produces a high-pitched sound. And as you can hear the amplitude of the sound, you get an impression that a smaller chamber, this sized chamber, is a better fit, fits better, is more compatible with a 1.5 millimeter duct gap. So this one doesn't produce as loud as this guy. It's a low pitch. Although both are stable, once you blow into it, you get very clear sound output. Next, I further reduced the air chamber. So this guy is wider, this guy is narrower. The air chamber height is the same. The duct gap is also the same. Let's see how it goes. And this one is really small, as you can see. Can I get a higher pitch sound? As you can hear, the sound from the smaller one is not that clear. This guy is clearer. It's not that clear, and when I blow into it, I can feel higher resistance because the channel, now the gap of the channel, the entire channel is smaller, the volume is smaller, so it is harder to blow air into this vessel. Whereas this guy, you can gently blow into it and you get a beautiful sound. You gently blow into this, you get a weak sound. So my next test is based on the thinking that since I reduced it further, I couldn't get a better sound from this smallest whistle. Is that because the duct gap should be further reduced? 1.5 with this sized chamber produce a very beautiful sound, and 1.5 gap with a narrower chamber produce a weaker sound. Is it because I wanted, if I can further reduce the chamber, further reduce the gap height from 1.5 gap to a 1 millimeter gap, can I have a better match with the smallest sized chamber? Let's do a test. So these two are the same, except that I've reduced the duct gap to 1 millimeter, very small. Now this guy, very hard to blow into it, and I do not get a strong sound. Over this experiment, my takeaway is that the duct gap is the most critical parameter of a whistle. And based on my experiments, 2 millimeter gap or 1.5 millimeter gap works. Whether it is 1.5 or 2 depends on the chamber size. If the chamber size is small, and you probably want to use 1.5. If the chamber size is big, you want to use 2. For this biggest chamber size, I have not done any test on 1.5 millimeter gap, so I will leave this test for our users to do if you are interested. 1.5 with a medium-sized chamber, very easy to blow into it. But a 2 millimeter gap for medium-sized chamber, you don't get any sound at all. So probably for our inputting, for the way that we blow into the whistle, 1.5 seems to be an optimum value. After all this experiment, I start to think, what can I do to make it better? So one idea came into me. Can I add something like an internal feature? You know, in the previous version, the whistle only takes the outline of your photo, no matter what kind of pattern that you have in the input image. It will ignore. It will only draw the outer outline. It will only extract the outline. In the new version that I just uploaded, it can detect internal pattern and print the internal pattern into the whistle. I've used a very simple pattern with an internal circle. The idea that I have is you can certainly take some pattern that looks beautiful, that has many engraved pattern in the outline. But my idea in using a very simple ring is that with such a channel, the channel is a ring, the air, incoming air, is directed more fluently, is directed easily, and generate a vortex much easier than the previous one. Then you only have a circular chamber. This is a ring chamber. The air goes in like this and goes out, goes in and goes out. When the air is more directed in and out, can I facilitate a better resonance on the opening area? Let's do a test. So in this example, the chamber size is the same as the biggest one, except that we have an internal ring. The wall thickness is 2 millimeter, I think. Let's take a look. Okay, the wall thickness is 1.5. If you recall, 1.5 is the value that I use on this whistle. And I mentioned to you that 1.5 does not work well because it cannot produce consistent sound. So, okay, let's see. This is 2 millimeter gap. This is 1.5. And also the thickness is 1.5. So this one doesn't give me, does not consistently give me sound. And let me try one more time if it can produce sound. If I tune the angle carefully, I can sometimes get an output. Okay, without further ado, let's try this. Whether I blow gently into it or strongly into it, I can get a very clear sound from this whistle. I'm very happy with the test. So that means the directed air really works. Out of all these tests, I'm very happy with this guy, the ring guy, and also very happy with the reduced chamber, 1.5 millimeter input. This guy is too small. Okay. Oh, maybe not this one. I think I have a better one. Doesn't work. Yeah, this one, the very small chamber with 1.5. These two are my favorite. Okay, that is all my tests. As you can see, it takes trial and error to find the best parameter for you, especially when the shape of the whistle changes. If you have a heart shape, star shape, or different kinds of shape, the parameter might change. But I believe the input duct gap should be around 1.5. Last but not the least, I printed all these whistles this way, standing up. Some members told me that I can print it rest on bed on the side. But I have doubts whether this is feasible because the top surface, especially the big one, the top surface, if the internal area is hollow, you have to rely on bridging to cover the whole surface, Will that work beautifully? I'm not sure. You can try it out. Thank you for your attention. See you next time.